We're on.
All right. Nice one, man. Yes, people, how you doing at home? We are back on the channel and we are doing a bit of a partner spotlight today. We're talking PIM, catalogs, product data, and we have a special guest all the way from Sales Layer, Kyle Richardson. How are you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing well. Thanks very much for asking. How about you?
Yeah, all good. Got Ollie here as well from PeopleVox.
Ollie here as always, coming live and direct from sunny North London. Carl's just revealed he's in Valencia in Spain.
Which isn't very sunny today, actually.
Well, we're not jealous at all. We've covered he's got better food, better countryside, better people, better everything, frankly. But he did comment that the grass is greener in the UK, which is quite ironic, isn't it?
Totally. So to get us going, I think, Kyle, it'd be great for you to, as the master of this PIM world that we're entering into, to give us the headlines, the key message. What is a PIM? What is Sales Layer? Why are you here?
Okay. So in a nutshell, what a PIM is, if we're going to start off with the concept, a PIM is a central repository to store all of your product information and assets. Okay, so not just your product description, your titles, your SKU numbers, all of that wonderful jazz, the videos that go that are assigned to them as well, the spec sheets, the product spotlight, if you've got any of those, right? So again, central repository for all the information and assets, plus the ability to then enrich that information, which is a very important second step that most people tend to forget about, let's be honest. So enriching that information for consumption for all of your consumers on your websites. 74% of people actually drop off of a website because of a lack of product information. And it's now become a subconscious thing. Most people will go to a marketplace or a platform like Amazon and actually prefer to buy on it simply because it has more info. That's it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that people are struggling with a lot at the moment. So second core, enriching the information itself. And then third, also very important, then pushing that out to all the sales channels that you have available.
Yeah, cool.
Okay,
you guys, yeah.
No, go for it.
You talk about Sales Layer, like specifically as the first PIM designed for marketing teams, right? So
yes, correct. So our UI, our actual interface, is designed for people who don't actually understand code. They are the people on a day-to-day basis that decide this is what our product needs to be called. This is how we're going to change our product description so that it matches our SEO. And those are the people who need access to a platform that they can actually do that easily. Not knock on your dev's door and be like, so listen, sorry, I know you've got 1,001 things to do, but can you just change this little text to me on the website, please?
What's been the traditional approach then? So if you're the first to focus from a marketing perspective, what's been the evolution of PIM like over the last 5 to 10 years? Like I can remember before PIM was, when I first heard of PIMs, there were these German things like popped up, and then as we had the e-commerce platforms like BigCommerce, Shopify come to the fore, and they've maybe not been so good at the product management as something like even Magento was. Even Magento 1, you had a single store, you could update your product in one place because it was multi-store, it just worked like that.
Exactly.
As SaaS platforms have started to punch through, it's almost like it's created this hole. And yes, that hole needs to be filled, but it sounds like you're going a bit beyond that. So it'd be good if you could just sort of explain how things have got to where they are now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, back in the day, as they always say, kids these days, it was more focused on people who actually did printed catalogs. So, your typical one, you go to visit a store and the store's like, hey, before you go out, before you walk out the door, here's a catalog.
Yeah.
You get a massive 150 page catalog that you could then just scroll through, right? But nowadays with technology, you don't want that 150 page catalog to carry with you, and they can just send you a link to an online catalog. Check my websites, or here's a custom online catalog that we created just specifically for you and for your needs. So it kind of evolved from the old school of how do we put our information into printed catalogs, but we as the data owners need to control that information and what assets are then being seen on that. to, okay, we still do printed catalogs because a lot of our customers still do, right? They do online catalogs, they do brochures, so we have that space covered. But e-com is where it's at. Like, especially now with everything that's happening with COVID, people are buying online more than ever, right? And the marketing world, the e-com world has just absolutely exploded.
And with the direct consumer trend, like, assume a lot of the brands you're working with actually own their brand content, because there's two angles to this that I immediately get to. Like, I was shopping for some bike lights on Sigma Sports the other day, and it became very apparent to me, like, some of the lights had a depth of content, and it was because those brands had provided the depth of content, right? Like, they'd gone out their way. There's a brand called Klug, KLUG. They've gone like to the nth degree of awesome content. And so Sigma Sports, their life's easy. You're looking through their lights, you're like, whoa, there's a YouTube video explaining this thing. I'm like, okay, this is great. So there's one group of people who are, you know, to a degree dependent on the brands that they're selling, right? But the other side of this is that I own a brand. You know, I've made my own product, like one of our co-clients, Sik Silk. They own that product. It's all their own brand. It feels, you know, they spend so much time thinking about their brand and their messaging and how they want to look and feel to their customer. And ultimately, what you're saying is this boils down to the product page. At the end of the day, all of that has to cascade to that final point when they buy. And that's the marketer's responsibility. Is that
correct? Yeah.
And we're just of it, because at the moment that message is like really good on the Instagram with Danny Alves wearing the clothes and the collection concept and all the rest of it. If by the time I get to buy, I've gone down like these, you know, the person who comes up with that big vision, they can't look at every product page and like check it's exactly as it should be, right?
Exactly. And I mean, the idea of, let's take a common example, like clothing brands, even small ones, you're looking at 500 to 1,000 products minimum. You imagine sitting there every day doing data entry on 500 to 1,000 products, and you miss one comma, or you put in the wrong word in the wrong place, and it's in a spreadsheet that is stuck in a drive somewhere. What about having a system that you can then just say, oh, actually, I wanted to search this product or this category of products because I want to actually change a title for, you know, whatever you're looking at, a pair of shoes, a shirt, something like that. And we want to reflect and amplify to our customers exactly what the shirt is about. You can even put a little about section for the shirt saying, you know, this is the history of how the shirt came about. And that all of that information can be managed from a system like PIM, or PIM actually in general. That's why we're explaining this, right? But it's not actually, another story about direct to consumer. PIM is not only used for direct to consumer, it's also used for business to business as well. So you'll find that a large majority of manufacturers have zero control of the content, how it ends up, you know, and that's their brand, that's what they fabricate. So you'll find that you can be used from very top of the chain, where you've got your manufacturer who provides the core data of how they want their product to be seen, and then you get the retailer or distributor further down the line who actually has the e-com that then promotes those products direct to consumers themselves. That then just gives that little bit of jazzing up, you know, making it proper consumer friendly.
And where are the routes that people go down that they hit a dead end on? Like, I can think of, like, I'm imagining Google Sheets, I'm imagining Airtables, you know, connected to Shopify using things like AirPower to like synchronize the data back and forth. You know, in my head, it's like, okay, if you've got 500 SKUs, something like that, it can handle. And if you've got a very relatively small team, that's going to work well. What other routes do people go down? And I imagine there's some even more expensive route. There's some big expensive routes that can promise this PIM and this focus on product, but actually, in reality, can't deliver it because you probably end up getting brought in alongside it. You know, I'm thinking of an obvious thing, like they put in NetSuite because they want to solve their product problem and their financial problem, and it can solve all these problems, and then they still end up coming to you guys and saying, "Hey, Carl, we need our product catalog."
Yeah, sorry, it's been like 6 months. We're still here.
I mean, 6 months if you're lucky.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, most people when they come to us, if they're starting out the digitalization, they're looking into an ERP system, right? They're looking into a PIM system because that's come up when they're looking for content management or catalog management or product information management, right? If they're looking for the correct terminology. And some of them actually are even looking for a rebuild of their e-com because they're not happy with their current build. So the common questions are, why should I implement you instead of an ERP system? You know, my ERP, as you rightfully said, manages logistics, and I can create products, and I can get my developer who's an expert at NetSuite to then create all the fields that I want to create.
Yeah.
It's good. ERP system is good. They are good at what they do. They're good at, you know, their product creation and the logistics side of things. They, you know, relatively decent at it. But when it comes to actually managing the vision of your brand, that's not what an ERP system is there for. So why do you want to implement a PIM before you want to implement your ERP system? Are you using a Google Sheet to create that product and then uploading that to your Shopify?
Yeah.
You can do all of that from an online system which gives you version control to see who has changed what. If someone's created content and it's the wrong content, you can revert back to an old version. If that version's wrong, you can revert back to the other version that was actually right. Complete visibility over absolutely every aspect of your product info.
What do you see often with like some of the retailers you work with? They're to a degree reliant on the brand, like the brands they're selling, the quality of their catalog of data. How does that work in your setup? Like, is it such that they could then connect to their manufacturer and say, we want to use this, can you upload your data in here, and then actually start to leverage them to capture that content?
Absolutely.
Is that a use case you see?
Yeah, I mean, right now there isn't. I don't have a direct use case to show you. We do have quite a few at the moment, but to give you the good generic, you know, proper generic idea is if I am this distributor or this retailer, right, and I have 20 manufacturers that give me their information, all of that information is going to be called, all of the fields for those informations, even just considering SKU numbers. Some people call them UPCs, some are EANs, some are SKUs. Other people have SKUs and EAN numbers. All that info needs to be put somewhere. It needs to be filtered down to a final version.
Right?
So all they have to do is just say, does your current system that you're using, does it provide an FTP? Absolutely. There you go. Here's the link. Do you have an Excel file or a CSV file because you don't have the capabilities to do an FTP? No problem. Plus, we'll whack it in the system. And with the matching feature, right, for the system that we've built, you can literally say if you are calling, you're the manufacturer and you're calling your SKU number product reference, and in the PIM system, for me, it's SKU, all I have to do is say, right, product reference field that I can see here, match it to my SKU field. It's already been created. Why not match it in? If the SKU number matches, edit the content that's already in there, or enrich the content that's already in there. If it doesn't exist, create it for me. You know?
Yeah. So I was hoping we could talk a little bit about how and why we are actually speaking together. So you've got sales layer PIM, but then also Peoplebox, WMS, and actually some of the things that you've already said around controlling the brand, the experience of the end customer, kind of owning that journey that you're trying to get your brands to take their customers on. It makes a lot of sense because there's the level of we're helping manage information from purchase to delivery, but actually on top of that, the systems kind of complement each other in that aspect of, we know brand is important, experience is important, reputation is important. So yeah, both of you be interested to hear your thoughts on that bit.
Sure. I mean, to be honest with you, when it comes to systems like yours, like Peoplebox, you're essential to an ecosystem for a PIM because you guys do extremely well what we don't do, what we lack. We lack the logistics side of things because we don't manage stock. We don't necessarily manage pricing. It can be done, but it's not there to be done on the fly like it can be done inside Peoplebox. We don't connect to warehouses, which then relay information when an order is made on a website to then push back to, if they do have an ERP system, right? Push back to an ERP system or not. If they don't have an ERP, you guys connect directly to their warehouse, which means that you're then managing the logistics side of things when customers are placing orders, and that plays a very vital role in customer satisfaction. Whereas we're just there to then be the hey, spotlight, this is actually what you want to buy, this is where you want to buy it. You guys are the, actually, now that you've bought it, let's prove why you should buy with us again.
Yeah. And this is what we see. Like, I've got two kind of directions I wanted to take this in next. One is just to talk through like an example tech stack of what that looks like and explain how these kind of solutions come together. Second thing I've got is just the Shopify Plus Facebook community. I've just typed the word PIM in, and I've got quite a lot of examples of questions and scenarios. I thought what could be pretty interesting is just to talk through like some of the questions and things people are saying, and like get your, it'd be pretty crass as a vendor to like actually be in that channel and replying and going, you're looking for this, I'm going to pitch in and like give you a hard sell. It's not really what that community is about. What's great about it is it's very much led by the merchants, which is why it works. And yes, like you get pulled into conversations from time to time, but it's on recommendation. I think that's one of the great things about it, and that's why it keeps rolling. One of the challenging things with it is that people ask the same questions like over and over again, because Facebook was built to like harvest your attention, not make the conversation effective.
Exactly.
There's no interaction if you start typing the word PIM in a question, and it acts like a help desk and surfaces like 20 other questions, right? So I thought it'd be interesting just to fire through some of them. I don't know. Hopefully I don't manage to trip you up. If we do, it'd be quite funny though. But I've got a feeling that's possibly not possible. Let's start there. Can you see my screen?
I can.
All right. So this isn't from a specific merchant, but this kind of gives the scale of what a distributed tech stack looks like. My assumption in here is that this is a brand that owns their own brand. They're not reselling lots of other people's product. And the methodology that we take towards this is to think about what is the master system, like what is the master system for specific pieces of data? Like for example, which system is the master of the product information and the catalog, that sales layer? Which system is the master of your purchasing and knowing what you should buy and when? That's inventory planner. Which system is the master of knowing what is in your warehouse? That's PeopleVox. Which system is responsible for making sure that across your 5 Shopify stores, all of the inventory levels are in sync and all of the orders and the fulfillments are being transacted back, regardless of whether you're doing 3,000 orders a day or 40,000 orders in an hour on a Black Friday sale, right? That would be Patchwork sitting in that space. And then, in addition to that, you might plug Amazon into Shopify. The final one being shipping. So again, this is a specialist area. You're going to need a way to connect your warehouse system or whatever you use to print the shipping labels. And so that's an example of what we're talking about, right? And there, of course, are a myriad of different systems that you can slot into this. And there's also examples of where PeopleVox and Sales Layer would work alongside an ERP. But I find this part of the conversation for most merchants is the most insightful, because if you're trying to learn how this ecosystem fits together, often the path of least resistance is to just find someone who says they can do everything, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So that's an example of a tech stack with everything pulled together. Should we hit this forum then and ask some questions out of here?
It's good. I'm excited.
This is good.
Oh, so I'm looking for a light PIM. I imagine you get that question a lot. It sounds, the traditional is a heavy PIM, right? Heavy PIM approach. Light PIM to do product content description images. We use Brightpole, and finding many PIMs are too robust, expensive. 4,000 SKUs. Let's see what else. We have a wholesale business, 4K SKUs, Shopify retail stores. How, based on that, what would you like? Are they ready for a PIM? Have they got the criteria? Is there enough there in terms of the criteria to go, yeah, they're a good match for a PIM?
Honestly, from what she's saying, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at 4,000 SKUs. We were only talking earlier about 500 to 1,000, right? 4,000 SKUs to manage that information, and talking about Brightpole ERP, right? you ideally you should have had a PIM at like the 2,000, 2,500 mark already.
Really?
Yeah. With multiple Shopify retail stores for different brands where some products overlap. Again, you want to manage content in bulk and then direct it to the right website. If it's on the wrong one, then how do you easily, right?
What's the thing that like makes someone in that situation go, yeah, like how do they work out the value of a PIM? Because there's like cost saving, there's time saving, and then there's like conversion related stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think
where do you find most people, like obviously people can focus on all of those areas. The people who buy a PIM and realize the value, which one do they think about the most?
To be honest with you, most of them think about a combination of time to market and time saved. Because at the end of the day, people, like you said, people want the path of least resistance, right?
Yeah.
So if you do the work up front, which they're already doing, but just on an everyday basis, you do the work up front, make sure that your product info and the assets that are associated to those products are as enriched as possible. From then on, it's like, oh, so we actually want to sell this pair of shoes on a different Shopify store. Okay, no problem. Add it to the list and let it get sent out on its own. That will then make sure that the PIM says to Shopify, create this content for me. Then if that is connected to Peoplebox then goes ahead and actually connects up the, from a logistics side as well, which means that we weren't working in tandem to say, we'll push and create, you guys then manage from that point onwards. If there's any changes to the product content that need to be had, that happens in the PIM. It doesn't happen in the back end of Shopify. So you then find that they need less development work done and less stress on a technical team, which is actually really important because we speak to a lot of tech people as well, right?
For the agencies then, I assume you solve a lot of problems for these agencies that are trying to get the clients to launch. They're probably launching new products with the new website redesign, new collections, probably get embroiled in all of it.
Exactly.
So you talk about time to market. Could it be that, like when they're doing their Shopify Plus launch, PIM and product and catalog actually ends up on the critical path for getting stuff live?
Exactly. Absolutely. I mean, if you've let's say for example, just a mundane example of I've sold successfully all my products in the UK, right? Absolutely smashing the market.
Yeah.
I then think, what would actually be another good market to go into? Let's talk about France, talk about Spain, let's talk about Belgium, Netherlands, Germany. You need that product content and all the assets available in another language. So that's multiplying, not the actual product itself, but the core content is the same, but you then need this in another language, which then comes into play as well with a lot of our vendors. Because they're like, this is great, but what about the multilingual side of things? And I mean, not to brag as a system, 156 base languages, you know what I mean? So there's plenty of room for growth there.
You got that, and you're headquartered in Spain, right?
Yeah, actually, we're headquartered in Valencia, which is a beautiful part of the world. It's not quite Barcelona, Madrid. I'm personally not really not much of a city boy, but so the Valencia suits me just fine.
I just think your location plays into that, because what you'll see, a PIM coming out of the US. Like, no offense to everyone in the US, but the US is a massive market, and for SaaS vendors, you don't need to start thinking about other markets for a long time. It's not something you need to think immediate. And actually, I think this is one of your advantages, like having that in the base languages, is because you've built it from in a place with a multi-language view of the world, very European in that sense. You're then naturally going to think more about how language interacts, because and then to do that with a PIM, I think that may be one of the things underlying why you guys have been so good at the multi-language stuff. I got another question here about someone saying we've gone through hundreds of PIMs and multi-channel, and we can't find one that supports meta fields on product and collection levels. What are meta fields, and why would someone want them on product and collection level?
Good old meta fields. So most people that come to us, especially if they're using Shopify, want to be able to manage how that information is then portrayed on the website. They don't want to use text and all that sort of stuff. So they want to say, I want to create my meta fields as and when I'm actually creating the product info, enriching that product. So PIM like ours, again, does allow the creation of meta fields. You can do it in rich text, you can do it in HTML, you can do it in pretty much anything that you like to that you'd like to do it. And again, that will then create for you on Shopify.
Yeah.
Can't stress enough that create for you. We've worked really hard to make sure that not only the product content, also your categories and your category tree, however you want to create it. Shopify has been up until now quite particular with their collections,
Mm-hmm.
the collection section, and we also create the category tree as well. So category tree, products info, and the variants that belong to those products. Because again, the data and the structure of that data is very important with how you portray that website. You could portray every single polo neck as an individual product, or you could say, hey, Mr. Customer, or Miss Customer, or Mrs. Customer, or Ms. Customer, however you want to call it, right? We have this polo, this gray polo in these sizes. We also have red, blue, green, black, brown. You know what I mean? So it's...
Is this the kind of thing that's then at the next level? Because I know a lot of brands are just using things like Excelify, which is really just a specific type of integration tool to move data between Shopify stores. Because we know one of the inherent it's a known downside of Shopify. If you want to have multi-store, you're going to end up with multi-instance, and you need to get the data between the two. This is also like one of Shopify's insane strengths, because they leave these gaps and people just fill them, and they make it so those people can make money. And that means you create this service, and that's why people are always going, I've got this plethora of apps doing stuff. And on top of Shopify, it's like, because Shopify created those opportunities, and that's why their ecosystem is so strong. And you always see the articles of, this is their moat. So that's a bit on like Excelify, but where do the things we're talking about now in Metafield, is that where it then goes beyond just cloning data? Like, there's no point cloning data if like one store's German and one store's English, for starters.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, going back to that example that you showed me before, right, where they had multiple Shopify stores.
Yeah.
That's where a vendor for Shopify could come in useful if they just need to copy and paste info over. But if you want to say, I want this version of this particular product to go to that store. I also want the same product, but in a different version, even if it's just a language variant, like, South African, right? We don't call we have different words for different products or different things, like as in the UK as well, right? So you can have different versions of what you want to portray as product info, depending on your locale, depending on the instance that you're using. And again, it's just add click of a button. I want this one to go there. I want this one to go there. I want this one to go there.
Yeah.
So the need for that type of vendor then becomes null and void.
Yeah. Cool. So where have you found that you're seeing the most adoption of PIM? Like, my perception is PIM's always been needed, right? But the market forces are sort of starting to really play in your favor, as I was describing. Even more so as people start to go like headless and all this fancy stuff that's going down.
Yeah.
As all of that starts to happen, and even more like, it starts to suit the best of breed solutions that are sitting in the different spots. PIM adoption, like, where are you seeing it adopted fastest right now? And what, who would be looking at this and going, actually, it's no longer just a few people going that way. If I don't get on board with this, I'm potentially going to be getting left in the rearview mirror.
I mean, honestly, where we're seeing the most adoption at the moment is manufacturers.
Yeah.
Manufacturers who have traditionally only sold B2B, so their product content has had to be limited at best, right? Here's my core stuff. If you want to take it, if you don't sell my products.
Yeah.
But what they're finding now is, why would I go to a middleman when I can try and go direct to consumer?
Yeah.
So having a system like ours and a system like yours in place is essential to customers like this.
Yeah.
And especially at this point in time where we've had several conversations like over the past couple of weeks, right, with large and small manufacturers going, I don't actually know how to do this. This is what I want to do because I can see that my competitors going down the same road,
Yeah.
and I would get left in the dust. So
Is
what
that
do I need?
manufacturers serving lots of retailers, right? So rather than brands who own their own product, maybe don't manufacture, just source the product, but it's got their label on it, right?
Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
thinking more like in that bike light example I gave you with Sigma Sport.
Yeah.
Sigma Sports would be, they'll end up buying more from the brands who have better quality content because it's easier for them to service that. They'll know that Club converts better than all the other bike lights, and it may not be that it's a better light, just got better
Yeah.
content. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's all about perception at the end of the day, right? How do you perceive that this product is better than another? Because one product has said, here's a light. Congrats, it's for your bike. No other information. It does what a light does. And then you've got the other example on the other hand that goes, this is the best light you never knew that you actually had, right? Here's a video to show you how it lights up all those corners. When you're turning a corner like that, does it get underneath the groove so you can see where you're going? Random stuff.
Cyclists, we're the first victims for anything. Like, there's a bike light. You have this thing that goes on the front of the bike. There's a bike light now where you put your Wahoo or your Garmin in, and they put a light on the front of that. Like that sounds to me like it's like that's a $20. It's a $20 product, right? It's like £80. It's aero, right? It's in with the thing. But that's true, right? You're spot on with that. I can see that from my own personal buying experience, and like that's important as well. I think people get you can get lost in listening to what other merchants are doing and thinking about what other people are doing, but at the end of the day, it's like often I find my own consumer experiences lead you to the places that need the most attention.
Exactly. And I mean, you'll find that as well. Another thing that I've noticed lately is the psychology of when people buy. So people will buy when you make it the easiest route for them to be able to do so. So
yes,
regardless of the platform nowadays, like personal buying habits, right? If I want to look for something, the first thing I'm going to do is open a browser and search for it. Second thing I'm going to do is see where has the best information. Third is going to be price. So write down that stream, right? Ease of use, searching for it in the browser. Second, who has the most information, who can provide me the most information for the particular product I'm buying. So even if they are £5 more expensive than another one that I've found, but it has cruddy product info, I'm going to go with it. Because you know what? I trust them for actually putting up that info. It's the same product, exactly the same product, but the perception is this one's better.
Yeah, you want to feel like you're getting like value at every step, and like
exactly.
I've bought trainers where I've like been so absorbed by the description of these like crazy Nikes. I was like, yeah, okay, it's the same everywhere, but this description really got me. Actually, like,
this is what
they can actually have my business because they've gone to these like extra lengths.
Right.
I got two quick questions to round us off.
Sure.
I want to know what Sales Layer is doing next year. I want to know what the exciting things are.
Okay.
First, I'm desperate to know how you guys got almost 250,000 views on one of your YouTube videos.
That's actually a very good question. We are we bought bots. No, I'm kidding. No, we didn't. So we actually, what we've done is our marketing team has been very good at finding out which one of our competitors have actually, like, what content they've been creating to get the most exposure. And we've just basically, I'm going to be honest about it, we've been piggybacking off of that. Just saying, look, we've done an analysis. This is what people are actually looking for. Let's rotate content around that. Otherwise, I mean, you're making content for the sake of making content. If you're going to promote it, why not use a working formula, you know?
Cool.
One thing, I was off thinking about something. Well, off the back of what you're just saying about like building those factors that influence people to buy. And one of my like personal favorites in marketing is a guy called David Cancel. He founded Drift, which is a marketing like automation platform, live chatbot. But I think he took a lot from Amazon in terms of the way that they leverage just some of the standard cognitive biases and like social psychology into how people actually make decisions to buy things. And he talks a lot about just how good the Amazon product pages are. And actually, before this, very start of our conversation, like you actually referenced Amazon, right? As one of give that example, because that sort of draws it round in a full circle for me of like the way you got this guy, David Cancel, built an incredible marketing platform, and he's really thought of as a thought leader in B2B marketing. He's borrowing from Amazon because he thinks they've really nailed like the stuff, the cognitive biases that are in us all and make us buy stuff. It's like actually make stuff happen. And at the end of the day, like sounds like the end goal of having great product information is conversion and to help people buy. So yeah, and that was the conversation you started with when you explained what PIM was. So let's round off with that and then call it a day.
Cool. I mean, to be honest with you, if you think about your own buying habits, right, comes back to the product information spec, right? My personal experience, when I want to look for a product, and I'm going to be open and honest about this, I always look on Amazon. Why? Because I know that psychologically they're going to have the information that I need. If there is the exact same product 3 times, because different vendors can put on the same product info, right, for selling the same product. Prices, maybe just a slightly different description. Again, I will just scroll through and see this one looks like it's got the best info. I'm going to jump on there. And the same information could be available on Google, could be available on the actual brand websites, exactly the same info. But because of the way that they've presented it visually, I have everything at my fingertips. And on top of that, if I'm looking for a product that is, is a cross-selling purpose, a product that is similar to that, or a product that will better the experience of the previous one, right? Again, a little bit of a nerd, I'm a gamer, right? So if I'm buying a new controller, right, for the PS5, and Amazon goes, hey buddy, you know what you're missing in your life? You're missing a new PlayStation camera. That's what you're missing. You know what else you're missing? You're missing that new beautiful gold HDMI that'll bring out that 4K experience. And literally all of this.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So my £40 purchase has then turned into a £90 purchase simply because they've gone, hey, hold up. What about these options? Do I need them? Probably not. Am I going to buy them? Probably am.
Well, that's an example, right? They're driving that's consensus. You're seeing other people who are like you that bought this. This is what they also bought. Like and you've committed, right? So you've committed, I'm going to buy this thing. And it's almost saying, well, if you're committed to buy this thing, you should probably commit to these other things. Otherwise, that in itself might be seen as inconsistent. We don't want to be inconsistent, even if it's, just Amazon's checkout, knowing. You just feel like they know stuff, right?
Why not follow suit with your fellow community who've clearly had the better choice of buying this?
Yeah. Look at all the reviews. Goes great together. These things go great together, We've all been trusted. Cool.
Yeah, that's it.
I enjoyed that. I know a hell load more about PIM than I did beforehand.
Yeah, Kyle, thanks very much, man.
If you guys need any other info, let us know.
Where can people? Where's the best place to go to get in contact with Sales Layer? And what are the steps if someone's watched this and gone, yeah, actually, I need to start solving this PIM problem. What does that process actually look like? How do you help people evaluate PIM and get towards making a decision on this kind of thing?
So, first step, always go have a look at the website. We've got videos, not unlike this, right? But this is really
a little bit more professional, Carl.
Exactly. It's a little bit. We don't want to see.
You got like 800,000 views on some of your videos. There's got some good viewership there.
It's actually because we have a global coverage, so we're quite lucky in the sense that a lot of people from a lot of different places are looking at the content, and a lot of them actually offer our competitors who have gone, oh, that's pretty cool, but I want to see something else,
So
it's good in that sense. But to answer your question, have a look at the website. There's blogs, there's videos, there's content to even help you understand exactly how a PIM fits in if the description today didn't give enough information. And there'll be a free trial. So the free trial is to jump on and actually test it out yourself. as we said before, it's an intuitive platform. But if you've got any questions, there's a chat inside. Either myself, my colleagues as well, they'll be on board to give an actual demo. So we'll walk you through the steps of, does a PIM fit into your current ecosystem, yes or no? Are you struggling with X, Y, and Z? Is your data in the right format? How would it actually fit into your current ecosystem? And then from there, I mean, it's just a matter of whether a company is in the right space to be able to make a move to a PIM to help them boost their sales. And you know, when we see an opportunity, we refer our mates at Peoplebox.
Good man, by the book.
Yeah,
It is. Nice one. Thanks, everyone. Very good.
Cool.
Very good
Take it
indeed.
easy.
guys, have a good day. Speak to you later. Huh?